Welcome back to another recap / review of Dexter Original Sin. This time we're on episode 2, Kid in a Candy Store. So we start off the episode, we're at Dexter's new job. He's an intern, so things are moving pretty slow. They're telling him not to touch things. He's pretty much doing coffee runs, all that kind of stuff. But Dexter is super eager to get out in these streets. And then in the next scene, we start seeing something about this little boy that got snatched up and he's being thrown in this dungeon looking thing with a chain and all that kind of stuff. And the way that they were acting in that scene kind of felt a little too real for me. I felt some kind of way. And we didn't know much else about that scene except for when the Miami PD started talking about it. And Angel asked Harry if he heard about Judge Powell's son coming up missing. And the captain said he thought it was the cartels because the judge had been putting a lot of cartel people away. Now, of course, they were just going on a hunch because they didn't have enough information to pursue the case in general. But that gave me a better understanding of what was happening at least. And then they get a call to go check out a crime scene. It's for an NHI that got popped in the head. And then the captain was doing like a roll call of who was supposed to go. And he said Morgan. So Dexter thought it was time for some action. And the captain was like, hold up, slow your roll, partner. I'm talking about Big Morgan. Now, surely he probably called him Detective Morgan, but Big Morgan sound better to me. And then he was like, on second thought, both of y'all can go. And on the way out, Dexter grabbed Angel and was like, hey fam, what is an NHI? It's actually a pretty messed up term because Angel stood there and matter-of-factly said, oh, NHI stands for no humans involved. It essentially stands for prostitutes, drug addicts, and homeless people. And Angel didn't even figure out that it was a messed up term until he said it out loud to Dexter. He was like, oh yeah, it's kind of messed up when you say it out loud. And I'm like, fam, it sounds just as bad if you say it internally. Not y'all dehumanizing the people you're supposed to be solving the case for. And so they get to the scene, they see this body laid out and there's blood splattered out the head because there's a wound. And Dex is absolutely giddy about getting to this work. And they give him a typical intern job. Go get us coffees, get me a whole banana bread, and we'll see you in a second. So he returns with the orders and his supervisor puts him to work. She's telling him not to miss anything on the checklist because if he does, he gonna die. And she's gonna be the person that does it. So as Dex is looking at this body, working through the checklist, he's like, hey, I see what happened. The killer was standing right here. There's a void in the blood splatter. And he tells his supervisor like he solved the case. And then the supervisor was like, oh my gosh, say that again. And then she calls somebody else over there, one of the other detectives. And then the other detective calls somebody else. And before you know it, it's a whole gang of folks over there standing listening to the story. And then they say, oh, really? And he's enthusiastically telling the story while not realizing that they are making fun of him right now. And it's more of a hazing thing, not a malicious thing. But of course, he doesn't recognize it because Dexter is socially awkward. And Harry had to pull him to the side and say, hey, they just hazing you, they're messing with you, they're inviting you to the family, and you need to give a little bit back to them, have a good time with them, blend in like we discussed. Now, my observation is, why are these detectives all overlooking the fact that Dexter is super excited to see dead bodies? I feel like they're missing all the red flags. So they get to the restaurant, and Dexter is the one that's supposed to go get the table. So he goes over there and finds a table for him, Asuka, Bobby, and Angel. And this guy comes by and says, hey, is somebody sitting right here? And Dexter's like, yeah, actually, I'm holding a seat for my friends. I'm sorry. And then Dexter had this epiphany. He was like, hold up. I got friends that I could actually hold a table for. And he smiled a little bit like he was excited about it. Now, personally, I do think it's too early to call people your friends, except for Bobby, because Bobby knew you for a while. But Angel and Masuka are new to that game. I'm gonna chalk this up to youth being the reason why you called these people your friends so early. And while they were at the table, Dexter got his badge from Masuka. It was a real exciting thing. And then Dexter tried to blend in like Harry told him to. And he told a terrible joke about Bobby. And Bobby was like, yeah, I'm not really supposed to eat this. I'm supposed to be lowering my cholesterol. So if my wife asked, I had a salad or something like that, vegetables or something. And Dexter chimed in and was like, yeah, Bobby, you about one bite away from a myocardial infarction, which is a heart attack. And everybody froze at the table. And then Angel was like, that's pretty messed up. Your daddy just had a heart attack. Even Masuka was like, bro, that was wild. So he realizes that blending in isn't as easy as he thought it was. And so we keep flashing back to the kid that's been abducted and we're seeing how they're treating him. So somebody opened that little door slot and slid in a camping light as well as a Sunny Smiles lunchbox. It was like ham and cheese or something like that. It looked like an elevated Lunchable. It looked better than what we got in the 90s. At least they had grapes. So they back at the crib and Deb is outside cooking for dinner and Dexter and Harry start having a conversation. And Harry is like talking to Dexter like, oh, how was work? And he was like, I'm glad that you working at Miami Metro is helping you get rid of these urges that you have and that you're ready to put these urges behind you. As if Harry doesn't work with these kind of criminals all the time. He should know that the urges of a serial killer don't just go away like that. Meanwhile, Dexter is going to bed at night smiling all giddy. Think about the time he popped his cherry. Also throughout this episode, there were multiple flashbacks to when Harry met Laura Moser. That's Dexter and Brian's mom. And if you don't remember who Brian is the ice truck killer from season 1. And they looked a lot older in this series because Dexter was found in blood as a baby in the original series. In this series, he looks at least 4 or 5. So Dexter is still working on his blending in era. And what does he do for that? He brings in a very undesirable, lackluster vegetable tray. And all the cops treated that thing like it had leprosy. Nobody wanted to touch it. And Harry recognized that Dexter was trying, but he knew he was still awkward, so he reached out to Angel and was like, Angel, you about Dexter's age. Could you invite him out some places with you so he don't be so socially awkward like he is right now? And Angel was like, sure, I'll take him out. And I'm glad that Dexter's supervisor sent him downstairs to talk to Camilla in evidence for something. Because he showed her that vegetable tray and she was like, oh, baby. She kept it 100% real with him. She said, cops don't eat that shit. And you know she wasn't lying because old girl had a whole lemon meringue or key lime pie sitting at her desk. She said, let me help you out real quick. Toss that thing in the trash with alacrity. The tray just looked depressing. And I'm going to be honest, as a vegan, I absolutely didn't want that ashy tray either. And it looked like it had ranch dressing on it. So that was a no from the beginning. If you're going to bring in a tray, it better at least have blue cheese on it. Anyway, back to the story. It was down in that evidence room where Dexter became a kid in the candy store. Now, he was down there putting things away. And then he found all these unsolved murder cases and he was like, oh yes, he just lit up. Now it's really cool to see Dexter and Harry bonding over different things like work and just having really good conversations with each other, trying to grow together. But Deb is missing out on this because her mom is gone. She's the only woman at the house. She feels underappreciated. Harry didn't really want the kebabs that she made with the tofu on it. They didn't look that appetizing, but she's trying to help your heart, Smokey. She's also trying to scam and get a little money on the side, like her friend Sophia, who pawned something off to get these sunglasses that she really liked. And she was like, well, let me look around the house to see if I can find something. You know what they say, the idle mind is the devil's playground. Deb is by herself. She's trying to figure some stuff out. She's trying to figure out something to pawn. So she goes around looking for things, can't find stuff. She sees some VHSs and she's trying to sell these, which is crazy. You know, back in the day though, they was popping. And she ends up finding the earrings that he took off of Nurse Kevorkian last episode. And so they try to go to a pawn shop to sell these earrings. And the guy said, girl, these are fake. I don't know why you even trying to sell these to me, but I will take that pearl necklace up off you for about $200. And then she gives the earrings to Sophia. And I just knew Dexter was going to be hot once he found out that they were missing. And so Dexter's out here with Angel and they're at the restaurant just chilling, enjoying things. And then there's a toast to Renee. And he's like, now who's Renee? And so Angel went on to tell the story about how Tony Ferreira is a guy in the community that loans money to a lot of people, but he makes it where you can't pay him back. And when you can't pay him back, the consequences are deadly. Well, Renee borrowed money from Tony, couldn't pay him back. So Tony came over his house one day and was like, hey, where's my money? Well, clearly Renee didn't have it. So what Tony decided to do was shoot the gun next to his head. Accidentally hit his mom in the other room. She perished. And then after that, Renee felt so guilty for his mom's passing that he committed self-elimination at her gravesite. And then Dexter chimed in because he's recalling what he saw in that evidence room. He's talking about, you talking about Carla? And he didn't even need Angel to confirm it, but he was like, oh, so Tony's still out in these streets. He was already plotting about what he wanted to do. Tony was going to be his second takedown. So then we get to a part of the episode that really pissed me off. So we finally start seeing what's going on with little Jimmy Powell, and he comes over there to get his lunch per usual, gets to the thing, they pull his arm through, take one of his fingers off, and sends it to his father, the judge. And now Miami PD can jump on this case because they have a fingerprint. They had the finger that's severed that matched one of the fingerprints on Jimmy's toys. And so obviously everybody's upset about this, including Dexter. He said, I want to kill whoever did this. But he understands that the block is too hot for that because everybody's going to be looking for this person. So he sets his sights on somebody that nobody's really caring about right now, and that's Tony Ferreira. So I really enjoyed this episode. I feel like the episodes are getting better with time, and I'm actually liking the story. What did y'all think of the episode? Did I miss anything? Let me know your thoughts below. And remember to like, comment, and subscribe for later content.